So the plan is to replace the front calipers, rotors, brake lines, master cylinder, and bleed the whole system, and then have a fresh brake parts.
That sounds like a lot of work.
I have a whole bunch of front brakes.
What time is it right now?
It's too late.
What time is it?
9:54.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know it was almost 10.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, because we also have to assemble these rotors
Cool.
and make sure they're torqued and Loctited and all that stuff.
Nice. Because now we've added pieces.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now there's more pieces. I guess that's the downside of this, but it's all right. It's worth it.
Hit it.
Plus, this is all nice new stuff. This is fun to put together.
No, I mean, that's cool. All right. Well, we'll get to work on that, and we'll take you along for the ride. Just for a comparison here, we've got the old rotors.
These are 240 millimeter. These are standard Civic CRX SI rotors. These are obviously aftermarket, but they're standard size. And so even though this is the smaller of the two kits, I mean, you can see there's a significant difference in size.
And look at that thing's chunky, that width.
Yeah, I mean, look at that.
Yeah, that's pretty significant.
That alone should be a huge increase in braking force.
Yeah.
And on top of that, we're going to have some nice, beefy 4-piston calipers to really clamp that thing down. But I put one rotor together so far. I've got another one to put together. But while I had that, I just wanted to give you guys a reference. Significant increase. That makes me happy.
Size matters.
Sure does. I did a bunch of test fitting on the passenger side because there's a whole bunch of shims that come with this to let you slightly adjust the position of the caliper. So based on what I did over there, I figured out that it's a lot easier to assemble the caliper with the shims onto the bracket and then put the bracket onto the car. Everything's got to have red Loctite on it, and I figured out it needs 3 shims on each bolt. Now that's in this specific application. It doesn't necessarily mean if you're doing the same thing that's what yours is going to need. You have to, the Willwood instructions are to put 1 shim between the caliper and the bracket to space it out a certain amount and then adjust from there, which is what I did off camera. But I figured out 3 for me, for this right here, 3 is perfect. So I'm just gonna kind of show you. So we're using red Loctite on everything. I need my shims in between here and here. So put 1 washer on the head of the bolt. I'm gonna put some Loctite on here right away. And 3 shims. I don't know if you can see this very well.
Yeah, looks good.
Way easier than doing it on the car, I can tell you that, because I just did it on the car. And that was tricky. I dropped all the shims out of the 1 bolt almost right away. So I'll just give it a little snug with my wrench here. Make sure everything stays in place. And now for the caliper mounting brackets, this is such a well-engineered kit. I'm so happy with this as I put this together. This is just making me happier and happier. There's these sleeves that come with the bolts that mount the bracket into the knuckle itself, the little ears that stick out that are cast into the knuckle. The bolts that they give you, they're not shouldered. They're not, this is, a lot of this stuff is kind of made for multiple different versions of something similar. So it's not all 100% application specific. But what's cool about that is they give you some of these little, they don't just ignore some of these details. These bolts are smaller than the holes in the knuckle. So if you were to just throw these in, there would be some opportunity for it to shift back and forth depending on what kind of load it was getting. So they give you these little sleeves that you just drop into the knuckle, and I'll show you that in a second. And it takes up the gap so much so that it's a little difficult to get these threads started into these brackets when they go through the knuckle. But I'm okay with that because that tells you how precisely engineered this whole system is, which is awesome. That makes me so happy. Like I said, every step of the way, I've just been happier and happier that I went this route.
Yeah.
Okay, so these nice little sleeves here, they just pop in to the knuckle. And then you'll be able to see. Now, these need Loctite on them, but I'm just going to show you how tight that is. Just for some loose fitment. Now, this is not, you can see I'm just putting this in finger tight, right? And I can move it back and forth. So it's not clamped down by any means, but look at that. There's barely any movement. And like I said, it's not even clamped down tight. It's hardly finger tight, and it's the bolts are backed way off, but just this tiny little bit of movement is all you have, which is honestly just as much or even more than some OEM systems. I do brakes all the time. I've done probably hundreds of thousands of brake jobs in my life, and that's just as good or better than the OEM fitment and tolerances. So this is really nice. I'm really, really liking this. It's not, it's not quite as easy as an OEM setup, obviously, because we have, an extra bracket and an adapter and stuff, but I'm sure it'll pay off. So we got to get the rotor on. And we'll line that up with the threaded holes. And I mean, really, they're not exactly doing anything critical other than just kind of helping keep the rotors in place when you assemble the stuff.
They were helpful for, figuring out shimming.
Oh yeah, no, they're good. I mean, that's why I'm reusing them. They're not 100% necessary. A lot of manufacturers don't use anything to keep the rotor onto the hub like that.
I hate those things, especially after Volkswagen brake job.
Yeah, right. And we don't want to have to drill them out and then leave pieces in our hub and everything else. So, all right.
Shout out to Mike on that one.
Yeah.
Speaking of pieces in your hub, you got two hubs that got some pieces in them. I can tell you that much.
Most Volkswagens do. I mean, to be fair, a lot of Hondas do too.
Yeah.
Not. looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I think. I wonder if I need to add another shim. Looks like it needs to go, or take away a shim, maybe. What do you think? The caliper needs to come out?
I'm looking at it through the camera, so I've got a tough time here. Oh, interesting. But the right, this looks closer over here to me.
The outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The outside.
Same.
Yeah. That was kind of.
I wonder, is that the thickness of a shim, though?
Maybe grab pads.
Yep, that's what I'm going to do. Nothing's ever straightforward, is it, Adam?
Mm-hmm. That's why when you were talking about assembling it, yeah, definitely you're going to need a shim.
Take away a shim.
Yeah.
Well, these pistons are sticking out, too.
How's that?
Look at that. See that?
Yeah. That's funky. The other side wasn't like that?
Yeah, okay, I'm going to take a shim out. That looks
Better?
better, but also, like, we're gonna have to pick one or the other because it's not.
Well, my question is, what are your thoughts on trying to compress those pistons?
Well, I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, there's no fluid.
That does look. It's now there's the gaps to the outside a hair, but it actually looks better.
We'll give a couple pads. Throw a couple pads in there. I need that light back. You keep taking it from me.
Sorry, I just put it away.
Ah, now that's what we're looking for. That sounded good.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more room over here now.
But as it compresses, I mean.
Well, it should. Ideally, it should be equal.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, but you're at the limitation of shims.
Right, and I think this is better than the other way.
Yes.
Which is weird that it's different side to side.
Look at this.
Yeah, sealant.
I know.
It's weird that it's different side to side.
Well, it was made in the 80s, basically. I mean, it could have been a off day at the Honda factory.
Yeah, or recently an off day at the Willwood factory.
Could have been that.
But yeah, there you go.
That is wonderful. And look at how good this looks. Woo! Woo! Can't wait till we get this car cleaned up. Sam, what do we have left to do? We got both sides on. We got to do brake lines.
The brake lines and the master cylinder.
And the master cylinder.
Because I just have a factory replacement master cylinder.
What's your issue with the master cylinder?
It leaks.
Okay.
Internally. If I'm stuck at a stop sign or a stoplight for a long time.
No.
For a long time.
All right. So we're going to do lines and a master.
Yep.
And bleed it.
Full bleed job, and then should be done.
All right. Well, we've got work to do.
Yeah, we're going to have to do something about that.
We've got money to spend, work to do. Last time we were here at the shop, we got the Willwood brake kit on the Civic.
Yep.
Sam came back and did the lines. So those are done.
Mm-hmm.
So the plan here for this evening is to do replace the brake master, bleed all that. Are you gonna bench bleed it first, or we're just gonna go in dry?
No, I'm gonna bench bleed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I know that's a thing because like I'm a big mechanic guy.
Yeah. In this case, yeah, I'm gonna do more than that. But I don't know if I'm actually gonna do any like pumping of the master. I honestly think that's a perfectly acceptable way of making sure that there's fluid in the master, because we're going to bleed the brakes anyway. So we're going to go through, we're going to essentially flush out all the old fluid and run all new fluid through the entire system, including the rears, which we haven't touched, but we will. And I don't see any issues with that. There's going to be some little bit of air bubbles in there, but we're going to bleed all the brakes. So I think that's perfectly acceptable.
All right. Well, there's your hot take on bench bleeding.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, if I fill it and pull the plugs on the ports and nothing comes out, well, then I guess I got to do something different. But
then we'll know.
My thoughts are that if I fill this thing up and just pull the plugs in the ports and let the air bubbles come out until I get a steady stream of fluid, we're good.
All right. So we're gonna do that, and then bleed the brakes, and then your car should be good to go.
Yeah.
Slap some wheels on it.
Yeah.
And all right, so we're pumped because this is finally happening.
Finally.
Although it's 10 o'clock at night on a Friday. And, if we do drive, I mean, I personally want to take her for a little rip.
Well, yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah,
but
so
also, we have to bed in the new brake pads and rotors and stuff. And, so I can't just like go on a road trip or go on a track. I have to be specific about how I drive the car for a little bit.
Yeah.
To properly break in that stuff. But
we'll worry about that later.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna knock out this work and hopefully get this thing roadworthy once again.
Get some work done.
Yep. That's what Fridays are for.
Got the good stuff.
Motul. There's bubbles coming out.
Already?
My goodness, leave the caps in until the bubbles stop.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Maybe try the other one? Hold on one second. Whoop.
The idea is you put it in a vise and then you have lines that screw into here and circulate back up into the reservoir. Okay. And then you pump it, and then it circulates the fluid and then the air, because, this is open with the cap up, any air bubbles just blast into the reservoir and then they can float to the top and then pop and dissipate. That's pretty much the idea.
Looks like we're just gonna, bolt it up and bleed forever.
No, this is getting good. I can actually see this. I'm slowly pushing it by hand. Just fluid's coming out.
And it's filling up that hole.
If I cover that.
What happens if you put the caps back on? Would that seal it or no? Or I guess that'll displace fluid as well. So.
So now I cover them as I let the
so it doesn't suck
the rod
air back
out.
in.
Yeah, it doesn't suck air back in. It sucks it back in through here.
Okay.
And then it's just a little bit of air. I talked to our brake systems engineer friend about that before I ordered this one. This is a factory replacement, so this is the same bore size as factory.
Okay.
Which is a little bit smaller.
Okay.
I mean, it's factory, but compared to like the Integra one's a little bit bigger. This is factory EF wagon, EE wagon, whatever, like most EFs, which I think is 7/8. and I think the Integra one is 15/16. So it's 1/16 of an inch difference. He says you'll feel it, because that was my biggest question: was, is it even going to matter? Is it, is it really even going to change anything? He said, yeah, you'll feel it. So it'll be stiffer and it'll be shorter. But I'm used to driving street cars. I don't, he drives race cars all the time, so he's used to just having like straight up race brakes.
Yeah,
I'm not. I would rather have a longer travel and a little bit softer of a pedal to be able to like modulate and feel that braking a little bit more,
as opposed to just full on like a button.
Yeah, I'd rather have a little bit of squish.
Yeah.
To be able to feel it. I'm sure the difference is not going to be that big anyway, so I just said screw it. I'm just going to go with factory replacement.
Probably
and
pretty negligible.
Not change anything. There's already going to be a change with the Willwood calipers. So I figured let's change the least amount of things as possible right now, and just do one at a time. If I really decide that I want to get a bigger master for some reason in the future, it's not expensive. It's easy to find. It fits. I can get it pretty much anywhere. I can do that very easily in the future. But for now, I just want one that works and that doesn't leak.
Sounds like a good plan. Here we are in the driver's seat of Civic. No, it's luxury.
Pump up that pedal.
Ready?
Yeah, pump it. No, pump it a bunch.
Ooh, it's hard.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Hold.
Down?
Yep. What? Can you start this thing?
Raging Boner Friday.
I already used boner, but that's fine.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was hesitating.
Raging Boner Friday. That's like our new channel name.
Yeah. It's like our theme. Pretty much always just Raging Boner Fridays.
Always on, always erect.
Always ready.